This is part 2 of my series on Lovecraft and games. Click the annotation here for part 1, where I take a look at core themes and exemplary games. If you've already seen part 1, enjoy. Hello and welcome to an extra Eldritch video. Last time I broke down some core themes of Lovecraft's work and showed off a few famously Lovecraftian styled games, like Bloodborne and Amnesia. Like I promised at the end of part 1, today we're going to take a crack at the upcoming game Call of Cthulhu, the official video game. First teased in 2014, the game is being developed by Cyanide Studios and published by Focus Home Interactive. As of writing, it's said to be out in 2017 for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Details are few and far between, but before proceeding, I want to direct you to the awesomely atmospheric trailer released for E3. I'll try and remember to put an annotation up. Make sure to watch it and come back for my analysis of what's present there. Alright, so even though it's a short trailer, we have a lot to get through there. The setup sounds like the perfect and traditional Lovecraft tale. Private Eye Edward Pierce is sent to investigate the death of a Sarah Hawkins on Darkwater Island. Detectives are the perfect vehicle for Lovecraft stories, as their very job entails searching for knowledge. And as I discussed in the first part, that surge can prove double-edged. Additionally, Lovecraft seemed to have a huge heart-on for rural or backwater towns or island settings, and the time period is accurate to his works. It seems the game will take place entirely on the island, with a heavy focus on the Lumen Hawkins mansion. Also of note, the description hammers home the point of madness. It tells us directly that Cthulhu will be the main supernatural being of the game, and the fact that he's trying to be awakened suggests the presence of a cult on Darkwater Island. In a way, it's already sort of spoiled why Sarah Hawkins has been killed, though I have no doubts there will be surprises and twists in other forms. Furthermore, as the description says, they say that madness is the only way that can bring you to the truth, and you will have to balance your sanity against your determination to discover it, showing us that the developers have a very good grasp on the danger of knowledge we talked about last time. In the trailer, we definitely get a taste of madness, including one repeated image that has had me wondering for a little bit now. The weird Slenderman-esque figure we see throughout. I've stared at these images and looked through as many Lovecraft bestiary entries as possible. Ultimately, I couldn't really decide or figure out what it was. I'm stuck between 2 or 3 ideas. It could be Nyarlathotep in his more humanoid shape. The deep ones, despite being more closely tied to Dagon, I know, or at the end of the day, could simply be a hallucination of madness striking the player. Similarly is the being shown with the cracked face. Like with the other anomaly being, I got stuck on the idea of Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep is a being whose name is hard to pronounce, and who appears in several Lovecraftian works in a number of forms. His first is that of a tall, dark-skinned man, but he would later go on to appear in a number of shapes, like a bat-winged tentacled monster in The Haunter of the Dark, or in The Rats on the Walls, he's mentioned as a faceless god in the caverns of Earth's center. This last description is the one that seems to fit the most, as the being seems to lack any distinguishing human facial features. My other theory is that it could be one of the Cthulhu cultists I mentioned earlier. With the dark robes it seems to be wearing, it could also be a mask, as is common practice in many representations of the occult. Towards the end of the trailer, we hear Edward Pierce narrate about the awakening of Cthulhu, and the narration ends with, "I have to stop it." This one line is honestly my biggest worry with the game, because it could indicate a failure in the transition to the gaming medium. Lovecraft's works were not overly cheerful. Oftentimes protagonists did not emerge victorious, seeing everything from madness to outright death in the face of insurmountable evils. While Cthulhu was somewhat defeated in the original Call of Cthulhu short story, a running theme in the tabletop seems to be the player characters dying gruesomely or being tossed into a mental asylum. Victory is very much not guaranteed. However, in video games, it's extremely rare to find a game where player victory is not present in any degree. Take another horror game, Soma, for example. Be aware, brief ending spoilers for a little bit here. While the player is stuck in the hellish underwater base, their consciousness is successfully transferred to live on. While not necessarily a happy ending, there is some light to it. I can see and hope Call of Cthulhu takes a similar road. Cthulhu will probably not be awakened or put back to rest, but at a great personal price to Edward. With all of that said, I honestly have a lot of faith in Cyanide. From the promotional materials and information available, it seems the developers have an extremely solid grasp on both Lovecraft's works and the tabletop game the video game is adapted from. We have a few clues on how the gameplay itself will work from both the press release and hints in the trailer. In the release, it is stated that Call of Cthulhu will offer an RPG investigation title packed with psychological horror and stealth mechanics. And the suggestion of knowledge leading to madness also suggests another key mechanic. My guess would be something akin to the combination of the early parts of Dark Corners of the Earth and the more recent Amnesia: The Dark Descent. This would see players talking to townsfolk to gather pieces of the mystery before turning into sneaking around and avoiding enemies to both stay alive and continue finding clues, if not trying to stop the awakening of Cthulhu, while also balancing madness and the effects therein. Just please, no half-baked shooting segments, please. No, don't do it. With all of that said, the game isn't coming out until 2017, so there's sure to be a lot more details emerging. I can barely begin to describe my excitement for what appears to be a truly faithful representation of Lovecraft's work in the gaming medium, and if there's more reason to, I'll likely make another video before the game comes out, and plenty more after it does. I'm kind of a huge wuss when it comes to horror games, so maybe it might be fun to share it with all of you. Also, as much as I love this trailer, if I have to watch it one more time, I will be struck by Lovecraftian madness. I watched it so many fucking times for this video. Now, before wrapping this video up, there's something else I want to talk about. The new Call of Cthulhu game apparently isn't the only modern Lovecraftian game in the works. The Sinking City, being developed by Frogwares Games, seems to offer a very different mechanical setup than Call of Cthulhu, pitching an open-world action and investigation title. From the studio's history of Sherlock Holmes games and the screenshots available for the game, it certainly seems like it'll go for a more horror action gameplay and focus more on navigation than stealth and direct helpless horror. There's not a great deal out there that I could find, but as I'm talking, I'll make sure to have some of the art put up. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed or gleaned something from this video. If you did, or are as excited as me for this game, considering dropping a like or subscribing. If you want to support me directly, my Patreon will be in an annotation and in the description. Until next time, beautiful Elder Gods.